It is a wild and stormy night, and it is a gale outside, so there will be noise in the background. Apologies. This is the Dave Mustaine signature guitar from Dean. Dave Mustaine was Metallica and Megadeth, and you can see his signature there, Dave Mustaine. It's a pretty guitar. It's got a self-tuning system in it. It comes from Dean Guitars or Gear for Music or the German company. It has very little wrong with it, except for it has a very badly, well, maybe I shouldn't say badly, but it has a cracked neck. Can you see the broken headstock there? Let me just see. I don't know whether you can. Let me just zoom in here a bit to see. Excuse the wind. You see the crack? If I can flex it a bit, you see it's cracked. And there. Now I am hoping that this is going to be a very straightforward fix, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on the bench. I'm going to clamp it there, and I'm going to clamp it there, which will give me some leverage and tighten the clamp slightly, which will open up the crack, which I can't find now. There, and I'll put in tight bond, slightly reduced in thickness. Then I'll squeeze it all out again, and then I'll put in some thick tight bond, and then I'll clamp it together. So in theory, it should be an easy fix, but that depends on whether the glue holds. I'm going to let it sit. It's going to be tight bond, and we'll see. But if the glue doesn't hold and it breaks again in future, it means we're going to have to go for a different type of fix. This is a basswood guitar, or basswood, whatever you want to call it. So the wood is not a mahogany style, so that might be a little bit of a problem. But I'll let you see the next stage. This is the nerve-wracking stage. This is tight, holding it to the bench, and this is very loose. There's no clamp on it at all. But as you see, what I'm trying to do is I'm going to tighten that a little bit to open up that crack to give me room to put glue in. So I'm going to tighten it a bit now with the other hand, and you can see the crack opening up. Although this is nerve-wracking because you don't want the crack opening up too much. And I think that's, let me just see, where do you stop? I think that's enough. So I'm going to glue that now. Right, storm is still raging outside. Let me just go. That is a very weak, maybe 1 part tight bond to water. And what I'm going to do is push it in there with that there, let it soak way in. I'm doing it with one hand while holding the camera with the other, so excuse me for that. That allows this to soak way in, down into the crack. Way in, and I'm hoping to see it running out the bottom. Well, I might be hoping in vain, but we'll see. This will allow it to get right inside the tiny crevices way in the bottom. Let me just see. Now I'm going to also use a suction cup. Let me get the suction cup. It's beside me here. Again, the old suction cup. Thank you to Rosa Stringworks for this suggestion. I can't open it up anymore because I'm afraid of it cracking more. Right, okay. I'd like to see it going into that crack there. And people are texting me at the same time as I'm doing this, which is very difficult to do. Right, so I'm going to have to stop texting me. I'm in the middle of a job that I can't stop. Let me just pause. That's a lot of that's going in there, and it's not coming out the bottom, which is interesting. Okay. Because I think it is filling it up. Because, yeah, I do see it into the tiny little crack a bit. Yeah, so yeah, you can see it dripping through. Well, that's a good sign, right? Okay. So what I'm going to do now is take the clamp off up at this end. Let me just zoom out. Take the clamp off up at this end, right? And that will squeeze out a little bit of the loosey juicy. And I need two more hands. I'm going to pause. Right, back again, and the storm rages on. Sorry. So what I've got, that's very loose, but I'm going to tighten it now, and you'll see that it'll squirt out all the juices. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm not going to tighten that overly. I'm going to soak that up. Right, soak it all up, get rid of it all, and then take the clamp off and do exactly the opposite. So I'm going to take the clamp off, right, and I'm going to do the same thing again, but with thick glue. So back again in a minute. I'm going to do this with one hand. So now I'm going to put thick glue in, right, and I'm going to just squeeze the thick glue in. Right, I'm going to use my thumb. This tight bond is easy to get off your fingers. Right, I'm going to use my finger actually and force it into that crack. And force it right down into it, and in the side crack as well. Right in the side crack. Use the suction cup again to get the glue in it. You can see the glue going down in through it. People are still texting me, even though I've told them not to. But you can't stop once you start gluing. You know, you can't stop the rescue maidens in distress. I'm afraid the maiden's going to have to, what am I doing? I'm afraid the maiden's going to have to be in distress for a little bit later. Why? I'm going to pause that, put the clamp on it properly, clean it up with both hands. Now I'm going to clean it up and I'll put the clamp on and come back to you. Right. This is the clamp on, but it's not being squeezed. So I'm going to squeeze the clamp tight, and as tight as I can without doing any damage to the wood. And you'll see that. And then I'm going to clean this up. I'm using a cloth, which is unusual. I usually use tissues, but tissues are out of the way. Right. Pause while I get tissues. Clamp a little bit closer to the crack, and it squeezed out some more glue, and it's very tight now. So I'm going to clean it up. I wasn't happy because there was still a shelf there. Still a shelf, you know, one side slightly higher than the other. And that's not a good thing. That means that there's either been a bit of dirt got into the crack, or some of the bits of wood that are broken off have left their mark. But we're going to see what this does for it. This is a slightly damp cloth. And now I'm going to leave this. The tight bond's very easy to clean up afterwards. So I'm going to put this away and leave this for at least 2 days. And then I'll come back to you. Okay? Goodbye. Now going on to those text messages. Bloody people! Thank you very much. Okay, as if by magic, it is now 48 hours later, and I'm just about to take the clamp off this guitar. And just unloosen it and let it fall on the table. Stupid boy. It's left a dent, but I expected that because of the soft wood. Actually, I'm quite happy because the crack is sealed a little bit more. It's nothing in the front, no problems at the front. But that might mean that the wood was also damp. But that's a base wood, which is not the greatest of wood for necks and guitars. So it's going to be fragile for the rest of its life. I'll let it sit now for another 2 days, just to let it give it a thorough bonding, and then I'll come up and clean this all up, and the test will be putting strings on it. Am I convinced this is going to work? Not quite. So my fallback position might be Let me look at the other side. Yeah. Unfortunately, the truss rod's there. Or maybe fortunately the truss rod's there, because my fallback position was to put something, maybe chrome, high chrome dome head nuts through there. This is fallback position. Try to make them look as shiny and chromy as possible and bolt through the head. I am very dubious as to whether this, yeah, it would bolt through the head somewhere like there. We'll worry about that if this thing doesn't work. But I'm very dubious about doing the kind of repair that, it's such a thin head. If it had been broken there, then you got to put the wood things in, but broken there. Well, let's see if this works, but putting straps of wood in there and then covering it up, don't think that's going to work. So we'll see. Well, here's where we at. We is putting on the strings and they're ready to be tuned up. The neck has been glued with tight bond, but nothing else. And we're all sort of keeping our fingers crossed. When I say we, I mean me. You can see with the dent where the my clamp dented the basewood, and it's now glued. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tighten the strings and see how that holds, because it's been 3 days, almost 4, since I glued it. And I do expect some opening of the crack, but if it opens more than what it should do, I'm going to have to start thinking about mechanical measures to bind the two things together. Mechanical measures, screws, bolts, plates. Okay, I'm going to set the camera up so you can see me tightening it and watch the crack. This is all wrong, and this could go badly wrong. I'm tuning the guitar upside down so that you and I can watch the crack. If the crack widens or opens or splits, then we need to think again. So let's see. That's at E. That's the low E at the most tension. Right, let's try the A. This is awkward. Right, that's the A string almost in tune. What have we got? That didn't work too well, and I had to turn it to the face camera. Hello there. And so I'm going to finish tuning it, and my tuner's just popped off the end of the guitar. Let me just put it back on again. So we had the E almost tuner. Come on. Come on, tuner. My tuner's giving me grief. I'm going to tune her up the best I can. G. That's the B string. These are nines, they're Elixir nines. They're probably one of the most expensive sets of strings. Right, that's full tension. Full tune. Now what I'm going to do is switch you off, turn you around, because I need to see the crack close up, and so do you. At the moment I see no difference, and the crack has stayed where I would like it to be. Now what I'm going to do is put it up, keep it up to full tune, and leave it for a full 24 hours to see how it goes. And then if it goes well, I'm going to try to bluff that crack in a little bit more. There's not much I can do because I don't have silver paint and everything, but maybe bluff it a bit. I also need to set the neck and set the intonation because it's all out. Okay, we're getting there. Let's hope that stays. How do the kids hold these guitars, for fuck's sake? Anyway, it's well out of tune. The hell! Oh, that's it. Right. Okay. There. Right. Okay. Right. Let's get this in tune. So it's playing nicely, and the head. A fan came up and. That's all you need. That's all you need. It's working.